Welcome to This Explainer. Today, we're diving into something truly monumental. We're going to look really closely at Neil deGrasse Tyson's reflections on Carl Sagan's absolute magnum opus, Cosmos. The goal here? To uncover exactly how this one specific work completely revolutionized the way we talk about, think about, and honestly just understand science. We are literally breaking down the anatomy of a masterpiece. We're starting off with this incredibly powerful concept. Tyson reminds us that when we study the universe, we aren't just, memorizing dry equations. We're actually joining nearly 1 billion of our fellow Earthlings in this grand universal adventure to figure out our exact place in the massive expanse of space and time. We literally become a way for the cosmos to know itself. Just let that sink in. That framing, it changes absolutely everything about how you absorb information. Section 1. The hunger for cosmic knowledge. So Tyson points out that Sagan's ongoing success wasn't just because he was a super smart, friendly guy. Though, right, he absolutely had both of those traits in spades. It was actually because Cosmos tapped into a hidden hunger inside all of us. We have this deep, multi-layered need to not just learn random facts, but to really understand where we fit in the universe. Sagan empowered us to see why science matters intellectually, for sure, but also culturally and emotionally. It connected on a deeply human level. Section 2. Turning facts into wonder. Here's the thing. Most good science books, and honestly, most explainers out there, they just stop at step 1. They teach you the baseline information in a specific field, tell you what's trending, what's interesting, and then call it a day. But taking that raw, unfiltered data and shaping it into true knowledge, that's rare. And Tyson argues it is even rarer still to elevate that knowledge into genuine wonder. But Sagan mastered this exact 3-step progression. He didn't just dump data on his audience, he gave us the foundation for a profound, cosmic perspective. Now, how did he actually pull off that sense of wonder? Well, he did it through something we can call pedagogical comfort. Basically, Sagan's whole vibe was speaking with you, not lecturing at you from some cold, sterile academic podium. He genuinely cared about what Tyson beautifully calls the tangled mental roadways that can just straight up rob a person of rational thought. By prioritizing that comfort, he warmly invited millions of people to bring his ideas right into their living rooms. It felt exactly like having a fascinating conversation with a brilliant friend. Section 3. Blending science and humanities. Traditionally, the sciences were heavily siloed. You had astronomy, biology, chemistry, geology. All noble, all important, but they were mostly operating in their own little bubbles. Cosmos, though, constantly cross-pollinated these fields. By weaving them together into a single tapestry, putting them right next to each other, the impact became incredibly potent. Cosmos was super early to do this, literally paving the way for entirely new hybrid branches of science. We're talking about fields like astrobiology, astrochemistry, and planetary geology. But he didn't stop at just mixing the hard sciences. He persistently wove those traditional scientific fields right together with the humanities. Think history, anthropology, art, philosophy. By matching astronomy with history or chemistry with philosophy, he showed people exactly why they should care about science in our everyday culture. He essentially proved that science isn't just this rigid thing done in a lab somewhere. It's a vital, beating heart of our entire human civilization. Section 4. The world in 1980. To truly grasp the sheer magnitude of this work, we have to step back and look at the grim reality of 1980. When Cosmos first dropped, the Cold War was fading, sure, but it still loomed incredibly large. The arms race was still holding the world hostage with this terrifying nuclear arsenal. And the crucial point Tyson makes here is that those destructive powers were derived directly from the minds of physicists. So we really have to contrast that terrifying, existential dread with the unifying, uplifting hope of space exploration that Sagan was putting on the table. And think about our technological landscape back then. I mean, yes, NASA had landed Viking on Mars, and it had been 7 years since we walked on the moon. But consider what we didn't have yet. The space shuttle hadn't even flown. The International Space Station was literally just a drawing on paper. We were 11 years away from launching the Hubble Space Telescope, 15 years away from finding the very first exoplanet, and an entire decade away from the World Wide Web democratizing access to all this stuff. We were completely blind to things that we consider absolute basic knowledge today. Crazy, right? Section 5. A timeless perspective. So keeping that massive gap in technological capability in the back of your mind, we hit this really fascinating paradox. Science is always evolving, right? New missions launch, fresh data pours in, textbooks are practically rewritten every single day. So you'd naturally assume that a book written before Hubble, before the internet, before we even knew for a fact that other stars had planets, well, you'd think it would be hopelessly obsolete by now. So how on earth does it stay so relevant? The answer is actually genius. You focus on the perspective, not the bleeding edge. Tyson explains that when you dive into cosmos, you aren't focused on the bleeding edge of science, because let's face it, the bleeding edge comes and goes, it's fleeting. Instead, you're treated to an enduring way of thinking. You're taught how to observe, how to interpret, and how to conduct your life within the grander, massive scale of the universe. And that cosmic perspective, that never ages. Ultimately, the true gift of this masterpiece is that it hands the baton directly to us. We are the next link in this long generation of searchers. So as we continue this great adventure of science, looking up at the exact same stars our ancestors did, I want to leave you with this to chew on. How are you going to use your knowledge, your curiosity, and your unique perspective to help the cosmos know itself? Really think about that. Keep looking up, and thank you so much for joining me on this explainer.